Tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life.
Strap in for this one. So this is about my mum, not me. Gonna preface this by saying we're very similar, we both like to talk a lot. So it's the early 90s, and my mum and her friend have just ditched school. Cause it's hot and they want to go swimming. So they're hitchhiking down the road and it's all just Australian bushland around. Finally, a car pulls over. They both get in, my mum gets in the front seat, her friend gets in the back seat. And immediately they both get that just gut feeling. Something was wrong. They had just gotten into the car of then unknown Australian serial killer, Ivan Milat. He had been killing people for years at this point, and no one had found out it was him yet. But they both just got the feeling that something was really wrong. So my mum starts talking. Oh my gosh, Naomi, we're gonna get in so much trouble when we get home. I think I just saw our neighbour drive past. Oh, we're gonna get in so much trouble. Dad said we can't hitchhike anymore. You know my dad, right? He's the senior sergeant in town. I like your car. My dad and I saw this one the other day actually in town. He said it would make a great first car for me. Part 2. Now this was in the town called Bargo. I'm not expecting you to know this town, but it's rural, Australian, hot, there's plenty of bushland and not many houses. And my mum and her friend are 17 and in the car of serial killer Ivan Milat. As I said, my mum's just talking. She even starts talking about how she knows his family. Oh, I think your brother is my brother's footy coach. Yeah, your niece is in the year below me at school. Saying everything she can to establish a connection between the two of them. Even though she had no idea who he was, she trusted her gut and was just trying to let him know that if he did something, he would be caught. Now, he ended up pulling over and just saying, you girls should get out now. And my mum's friend was like shaking in the back seat. She had just frozen up. And it was only a few years later that straight out of high school, my mum joined the police force. She wasn't there for very long, but in the time that she was, the bodies were found of Ivan Milat's victims and he was arrested. And she recognized him from when she hitchhiked with him.
I don't know if they would have killed us, but they killed somebody like us. So in 2012, I was working on seeds in Nairobi, Kenya, trying to help women there. And for fun one night, a friend and I decided to go see a witch doctor to get our fortunes told. We had to pick the witch doctor up, and we had a local driver. And a couple minutes after he was in the car, suddenly these guys with AK-47s in plain clothes just came around the corner. They forced the driver to get out of the car and forced us out of the car too. Then they made us get back in and they just drove us away. So we just figured we were being kidnapped. But it turned out that they were corrupt cops. At the police station, they took our cell phones and wouldn't let us call anybody. They held us overnight and the next day took us to an ATM to try and extort some cash. While my friend was at the ATM, I slipped into his shop and I begged the shopkeeper to call the US Embassy before they saw me. As soon as they found me, they forced me into the parking lot. They ripped off my dress so I was topless and they tried to force me into the car. I just kept struggling, I don't know for how long. And the embassy did show up, so we were okay.
You know those women's safety memes that get posted on the internet with little tips? Well, I had just read one of those, and what it said was, if you're ever coming out to your car and there's like a van or something parked next to your car where their driver's side door is facing your driver's side door, do not enter your car that way. Go in through the back or call somebody because there's probably someone waiting who's going to snatch you. And so I had just read this like 2 days prior, and I was grocery shopping one day. I come out to my car, it's nighttime, and there's a van, a white van, and their driver's side door is right next to mine. And I'm like, not gonna die today. So I crawl through the back and I drive off. But here's the kicker. The next day I go into work and my manager is telling a story about how she was also at the store last night. And there was this really creepy guy like following her around the store, and she actually had a security guy walk her out. And I'm pretty sure it's the same guy. And I'm pretty sure I almost got snatched.
I was 17, I used to work at Subway, so I actually have 2 of these stories, but this is the first one. I was on the closing crew, so it was my job to make sure that the lobby got cleaned and that, the trashes were taken out and all that stuff. It was policy that we were supposed to make sure that the doors were locked, but I was about to take the trashes out as soon as I was done mopping, so I did not have the door locked. I was working with a coworker, but he was in the back, so it looked like I was out there alone. Well, my mop bucket got dirty, so I went into the back to go change out my water, and I heard the ding of the bell. I go out there like, hey, I'm so sorry, we're closed, and there's nobody out there. But I can hear somebody out there. I hear shuffling. So I go into the back and I go get my coworker, who's a guy. I say, hey, I think you need to come up here and come help me out with this. As we turn around the corner, there is a guy peeping over the register, trying to look into the back of the store where I just went. Luckily, my coworker confronts him like, hey, can I help you with anything? He laughs, he says no. Walks out. So we call the police because that was kind of fucking strange, right? This guy had army crawled across the floor, and the police said that they recognized his tattoo. He was wanted for rape.
I was in the hospital a few years ago as a patient. I'm also a nurse, but I was in as a patient. And about midnight, the intercom system came on, and I was assuming they were going to be like a code blue or something like that. But instead, they said active shooter, second floor. And in that split second, I heard shots and realized I was on the second floor. And being a nurse, I knew none of the rooms had locks on the doors, neither did the bathrooms. So I got myself into the bathroom, and because the bathroom door opened out, I couldn't barricade it at all. So I took the power cord out of the back of my IV pole and I tied it around the door handle, and I tied the other end around the shower handle as tight as I could so the door couldn't be opened from the outside. And then I laid on the floor for 32 minutes and waited for the police to come and get me. And they had killed the shooter right in front of my room.
Okay, so when I was 19, I was coming back from college. It was a kind of a far drive. My gas light was already going off, so I knew I had to go get gas soon. All of a sudden, I get this really bad feeling in my stomach, and I got like that sixth sense where you can just tell someone's glaring at you. And so I turn over and I see a 50-year-old man who was so creepy, just like literally staring at me. He rolled down his window. He's trying to talk to me, and I was like really creeped out, just so like, ugh. And anyways, I sped up, he sped up, I slowed down, he slowed down, and so I was like, this guy is following me, like, and I didn't want to go home because I was like, I don't want him to know where I live. Also, I was running out of gas, so I called my dad. He didn't answer, so I called the guy friend. I was like, you have to meet me at the Target, like, I'm running out of gas, and I'm really scared, and this guy's following me. I go into the Target. The guy literally follows me into the Target through the aisles. He's literally like right behind me. Luckily, my friend was there, and everything's fine.
So my sophomore year, I was at a party, and I was absolutely plastered. So what had happened was everyone, like my friends, we went outside and got in another one of my friend's cars. He was a guy, mind you. And they were all smoking. I don't smoke, so I was just chilling there. But it was a while, and at this point, I was like kind of passed out. They all left me in the car with him, and he starts driving away. I kind of felt uncomfortable, and I sat up and I was like, where are we going? He didn't answer me. I asked him multiple times where we were going, and I said, you should turn around. My mother has my location on my phone, and if she sees me leave the party, she's going to come and get me. She's going to find me. I'm not allowed to leave. He then turns the car around and parks back in the driveway of the party, and to this day, I still wonder where he would have taken me if I didn't say that.
A few years ago, I went on a road trip from New York to Florida, then back up to New York. On the way back up to New York, I stopped in the middle of nowhere because I needed food, I needed gas, and I needed a bathroom. So I find a gas station with a Subway. So I get my gas, I get my sandwich, and I bring it back to my car where I start eating it in the driver's seat. Which then a man approaches my window and he taps on it, and it's the middle of the day. If it was nighttime, I would have ignored him there. But, you know, I rolled it down just a little bit to hear what he had to say. And he's all, hey, so my wife and my kid, they're over there in that car that I can't see. We actually don't have any money for gas. Do you think you can come with me to my car to help us? I also noticed you have a license plate from California and you have green hair. This has nothing to do with giving you gas money. And I just go, you know, sorry, I'm at the last leg of my road trip and I don't have any money. I spent it all. Sorry. I hope you guys get some money. And I shut my window and I drove away. And I realize now, because I've heard enough stories like it, that that was probably a sex trafficker.
I always tell this one. When I was working in London, I was on my way home on the tube. It was about 4 or 5 stops before I needed to get off. And I got on, and immediately I noticed these 2 men that were looking me directly in the eye. And it wasn't like checking me out, anything like that. They were looking me dead in the eye, literally like locked eyes with me. And after a few minutes, I was like, this isn't normal. This is really, really scary and really weird. So I was like, okay, next stop, I'll get off at the last minute so they can't then like follow me off of the train. So I waited and I waited and I waited just before the doors were going to close. So I jump off and they immediately start getting their bags out. Like, they literally start following me off the train, off into the platform. I realise that, run round to the other side of the train carriage, get back on it. They're literally running after me at this point. But luckily the door shut between us. But again, they're looking me dead in the eye. And I was so scared at the stop that I had to get off. I hid in Marks and Spencer's for like an hour just to make sure they hadn't followed me.